Hi, everyone, and happy Sunday. I hope you all had a great weekend and you're looking forward to the long 4 day weekend ahead. I'm sure everybody needs it. It's also a beautiful week weather wise, so be sure you get outside and enjoy that weather. So we have a pretty simple week. It's a complicated week in that you're working on a complicated assessment, but it is a simple week in that you only have one thing to focus on, which is kind of nice. So this week we're culminating Unit 1. You did have your Unit 1 test last week, I know, but we are exclusively focusing on case method this week. And the reason that I do that is because case method is really important to business education. If you are pursuing business post secondary, you will do a lot of case studies and you will use case method. So this is a variation of case method. It's not as complicated. It's not as involved. It's scaffolding the learning. So basically, you're going to be given a sort of an approach to learning about case method, and you're going to start to just apply it to the case study that we're using. By now, you know that we use case studies a lot in business education because it just gives you that hands-on opportunity to apply the learning that you've been doing. I'm really going to be looking for that in this assignment. So if you haven't been doing the work, if you haven't been looking through the slide deck, doing the reading materials and understanding the managerial theories from this unit, it's really going to show in this case. Okay, so again, making sure that you've done that. First things first, of course, please do your participation activity for the week. That's your attendance check. Okay. As you can see, all we have to focus on this week is this one assignment. I'm going to go and explain it here in detail. It's imperative that you listen to this because if you don't, you're really going to have no clue what to do, okay? The very first step before you do your case study, this is the case study here, and this is available in Dropbox as well, of course, because that's where you're going to submit your case. The first thing you're going to want to do, though, is read up on case method. So what I'm going to be expecting you to do and how you're going to actually complete the case. Okay, so if you click on this, it's going to open it up to this document here, case method process. Okay, so a case study method is a process where we record it's a record of research. It's a record of information and information basically over a specific case. Okay, and case studies, again, as we know, is just a great way to learn. So what I'm going to ask you to do is create a business case using obviously the case study that we have to go through, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And you have to follow a series of steps. Okay, so your case is going to start with a title page. So your very first page of your case study will have a title page. Your title page will include the name of your project. So in this case, your case study, your name, my name, the date, and the date that it's due. Okay, I have that listed below. The second page is going to start with a heading. Okay, and the heading is going to be called What Do We Know? It's all outlined here. In this section, you are going to list everything that you've learned from the case. So if I rewind back to my time in business school, I would be given a case and we would sit there and highlight the most important pieces of that case, kind of putting it together like a puzzle. So I strongly recommend that you read the case several times before you proceed to this step. You really want to make sure that you have the most important pieces that you've kind of pulled and extrapolated from the case so that you can glean from that information the next step, okay? So you're going to list everything that you've learned from the case that you feel is important, okay? Each case is going to include details of the situation, the people that are involved, we call those stakeholders, and basically any piece of information that you think is going to be helpful in the decision-making process. So examples might include age of the target audience, diversity, office makeup, schedules, pay, people involved, client attitude, personalities, etc. This does not have to be in written form, okay? The great thing about business writing is it's not an essay, okay? You can organize this however your brains work. You can do word walls, word webs, point form, charts, graphs, whatever works for you. Especially when you're listing, it's important that you're clear in what you're writing, but it can totally be organized in point form. Okay. Second section is what is the problem? From all of this information, you are going to list as many problems as you can come up with that's gleaned from this particular case. So what are the overall problems that need to be solved? Be really specific. No problem is too big or too small. You want to make sure that you are really highlighting all of the problems. Don't focus on trying to figure out the number one major problem. That's the next step. You want to list all of the problems first. Again, in this section, organize it how your brain works. Word web, word wall, point form, table, charts, whatever. Okay? And the third section, problem decision making. This is where, from your list of problems, you're going to outline what you believe to be the major issue and the root cause of all of the other secondary problems. Okay, because usually when you're looking at all of the major problems that you've listed, there's one or two that are the most important problems to be solved. And by identifying that, you can narrow your focus on what to do to solve those issues, and they will help to solve the secondary issues. Okay. So in this section, I want you to clearly outline what this identified problem is. And it's usually one or two max. Okay. And again, it can't be something overly vague, like let's fire the boss. Okay. That's actually not really going to solve the problem. It might take one person out of the mix, but all of the other issues are still going to be there. Okay. So you have to get a little more nuanced in what you're going to do. In step 4, you're going to brainstorm solutions. Okay. In this section, I want you to come up with, well, what can we do? Okay. Now that we've gleaned what the problem is, what are the different solutions that we can come up with? And again, we want it to be more than just let's fire the boss, right? Or fire this person. You want to identify 3 tangible solutions and then explain in detail how these solutions will actually solve the problem. Okay, so not just coming up with a random idea, actually identifying and going back to that root cause, like what is this going to do? How are we going to solve this? You can use who, what, when, where, how. Again, does not have to be written in paragraph form. It can be organized in a chart, point form, whatever works for you. Step 5, you're going to take these solutions that you've come up with, and you're going to create a pros and cons list. So anything in life, when you're trying to solve a problem that's complicated and complex, we know it's a cost benefit analysis. You're not going to get it perfect every time. There's going to be pros to the solution. There's going to be cons. So we want to try to identify the solution that's going to have the least amount of cons. Okay. Again, how you organize this is up to you. Step 6 is taking all of this information and ultimately identifying the most significant solution that you think will solve the problem. Again, I would identify a maximum of 1 or 2 of your ideas to come to a cross solution that you will implement. In this case, this is the only section where you are required to write in full paragraph sentences, in full paragraph style, I should say. Please write a full summary which explains the recommended solution, list step-by-step action plan of what needs to be done in the short and the long term. Again, this is the only section where I expect a detailed and long written explanation. Please make sure that your solution draws back to the identified root problem. Does it solve the problem? Make sure that it does. In this section, I also want to make sure that you are really amplifying those managerial theories managerial theories and concepts that we've learned this unit. So making sure you're making those connections to the course content as well, showing me that you're making connections to what we've been learning in class. Okay, so that's the step-by-step process of case method. As you can see with case method, some of your work is done in point form, chart form, mind maps, whatever works for you. The only section that needs to be in full paragraph form is the final solution, okay? Please use headings and subheadings to clearly divide each section and organize your work very clearly so I can see everything very clearly. Again, include a title page on page 1. Page numbers using Chicago style will be on the top right side of the page. Make sure you include that as well. I'm going to be looking to see that you've implemented your management theories and your content from Unit 1. Make sure you're drawing connections to the content that we've learned, okay? That is what you're going to do. Now, where you find your case, also in Dropbox, also right here. The case study is right here. It's called Sophie's Toys Creative Solutions. The case is here. I don't need to read it because you can. And everything that we've just talked about is all reiterated here as to what you need to do. Okay, your overall mark breakdown is here as well. And like I said, this is your culminating assignment for Unit 1. So it is worth about 7 to 8% of your overall mark. It's actually worth more than your new unit test. Okay, so you really want to put your best foot forward with this. Now, because this is a major project and we have all week to work on it, and it's the long weekend coming up, normally we have assignments due every Monday at 8 a.m., and that's consistent and standard across this class. This particular assignment is due next Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. This is like a one-off, okay? The reason that I'm doing that is because you do have a long weekend. I don't want a major assignment to be due the Tuesday morning following the long weekend in case you have family events and what have you. However, this is a hard deadline, okay? Because you have more than a week to complete this assignment. I'm noticing a lot of you are not getting, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a number of you are not getting the work done from this course because you're prioritizing your in-class courses. This is an academic grade 12 course, just like your in-class courses. You should be allotting at least 1.15 hours per day times 5 per week, which amounts to about 6 hours of time on this course per week. You need to make sure you're doing that per week if you want to be successful in this course. Midterms are next week. Okay, so again, we are getting really, really close. And for grade 12 students, these marks really matter. So I'm going to be looking for that. It is a hard deadline of 11:59 p.m. next Tuesday. If there are any emergent, situations, then again, contact me before the deadline, but it would be an extenuating circumstance. Okay? I'm hopeful that you're all listening to this. I notice that not all of us are, but if you are, thank you. And otherwise, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Send me an email, and I hope you have a great week. I'll see you online.